Oh, we don't. I don't care.
Okay.
It's
I guess
fine.
I'm just used to it. I just.
No, it's totally fine.
This is
You're
great.
gonna be there. Okay.
So the kids found. So usually I have in mind like some sort of. I don't want to say theme, but some idea of what we could do in case we get to a dull moment and the kids are like, well, what are we gonna do? Which
Right.
doesn't happen too often. And so I'll have an idea. And sometimes we do it, and other times it's completely something totally different.
Mommy, Papa made that.
Yes, Summer. Papa did make that. So, like for this week, so last week we picked some wildflowers and we dried them, and so then this week we could make our Mother's Day projects, which was just we made sun catchers. So it was a piece of self-laminating plastic, and they stuck it on there, and then we put a little border on it. So I knew that we had to get that done this week. So that was the project yesterday. And then today for the kids that didn't do it yesterday. So I knew that was something we had to do.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I just kind of see where the kids are at and if they are feeling more active and wanting to do more active stuff, or if they're kind of tired and we need to just do quiet, calming things. I found that from teaching in the more traditional setting to here, I feel much more connected to the kids here in this setting, because we have we really work on the relationships and the connections, and so we do a lot of talking, and I just feel like I'm connected to them, and I know kind of what we need to do and what would be the best at that time.
Right.
Like last week we had a busy morning. They were pretty active, and then at lunchtime I could tell that they were just kind of like, and it was a perfect day. There was no wind, so I brought out the easels, and they painted all afternoon, and they were just happy as clams. And it was just because I felt like they didn't need all the stimulation. They just needed some
Right.
So, and a lot of what we learn, it's based on what the kids want to know, on their interests. So emergent curriculum, that's the official term.
That's okay.
For that, emergent curriculum. So, for example, my Monday, Wednesday, Friday kids, they were really interested in sea creatures one week. This was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Sea creatures? So we talked about it and thought, oh great, how am I going to deal with this?
Right.
And yeah, jellyfish. And so we had a lot to, I was, well, what do you want to know about jellyfish? Where do they live? And do they sting or do they bite? And they just had all these questions. And so I was just writing them down, and it would be really easy for me to just pull out my phone and Google it.
Yeah.
But I don't typically do that.
Yeah.
If we really need to know something right away, yes, I do.
Yeah.
So I just let them talk and discuss, and then usually what happens is I find a book, and the book will spark more in-depth thinking, and we'll just go from there. So we did jellyfish, electric eels, and bull sharks. Those were the 3 sea creatures that they wanted to know more about.
Wow.
And so we found books, and they drew pictures, and that was what they wanted to do. Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to think. What else have we done that's been really neat? Well, the whole spring flowers. That's just been, it's amazing to them. And the whole changes of spring and everything growing.
Yeah.
And changing. That's been really exciting. Oh, the changes of seasons. That's always
That's always probably so cool. So in the wintertime, when like there's not as much just like, you know, things happening, how does that like look
animal
different
tracks.
then? Okay.
Oh gosh, animal tracks and the poop. We spend a lot of time looking at animal tracks and looking at poop and looking for different signs of animals like bark chewed on a tree from deer, or the squirrels digging their holes to find their nuts. Yeah, so I'm just watching a squirrel over there. As I was talking about squirrels and their nuts.
There they are.
So yeah, winter we do, and then a lot with like the different textures of snow. Like there's the real powdery stuff, and then the more sticky snow, and then the hard, crunchy. They're pretty interested in that.
Right.
We've figured out, well, this year it was trying to find the correct kind of snow to build a fort, because it couldn't be too powdery, otherwise it just fall. And you know, it had to be a little bit wet. So
Right.
we found that. They're very interested in the phases of the moon, specifically the full moon. And so we have a little moon chart that I'll show them, and we'll track it, and so they know the names of the full moons each month. So we just had the flower moon on Friday. Last Friday we had the flower moon.
That's so cool.
So
That's amazing.
yeah, and then like in January it was the wolf moon, and the kids, it was the perfect night for the wolf moon, and the parents they sent me pictures of them out howling at the moon, and it was so cute. I loved it. So
You're engaged and taking that home.
yeah.
So had you done nature-based education before starting Hugging Tree? Like, is this something you've been doing for a while?
So here's the story.
Okay.
So I taught traditional preschool for 12 years prior to starting Hugging Tree.
Okay.
And I just so I can't remember what year it was, but I went to a conference in Milwaukee, and it was a literacy conference of all things, and I went there, and there was a breakout session that said like outdoor, get your kids outside, or something with outdoor nature stuff. I thought, that sounds interesting. So I went there, and the presenter was this guy that had opened and ran a nature preschool outside of Milwaukee, and that was the first time I had heard of a nature preschool. I'm like, what? This is just incredible.
Yeah.
And so then there was one. It's the Schlitz Audubon preschool. It's the Schlitz Audubon Nature Center, which is in Milwaukee. They had a preschool, and so when I went back to the hotel that night, I'm looking at all this stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. Because I've always leaned more towards the nature aspect.
Yeah.
So I got the idea. I was all excited. I went back to my job. It was a small Lutheran preschool up in Waverly.
Yeah.
And they had this is how we want it done. And so I had, I created the curriculum. I mean, I used the creative curriculum and goal assessment and all that. But I could decide what themes we wanted to do and all that good stuff. And it was just, it wasn't until my daughter got into preschool. And I think it was just because I'm mom and she could, but she was like, no, I don't want to write my name on this paper. Because I had them had their little handwriting or their name notebooks where they'd write their names. She said, no. And I thought about it, and I was like, she's just going to go to the art center and write her name, 5 times on pieces of paper that she's doing. So why am I forcing these kids to write their name? And so it was just like this whole change in mindset. And then COVID happened and everything shut down. Yeah. And the summer was she was 4. She was in 4-year-old preschool. Nope, take that back. She was in 3-year-old preschool. And my husband was working from home, and so he was like, well, can you just go somewhere while I'm working? And so we would take the dogs and the stroller, and we'd go on adventures. And usually we ended up at what we called the Secret Lake. It's just back on the trails. And
Mommy, I just took it to that.
oh, okay. And I was just watching her play, and what am I doing? This is what am I doing? This is not how kids learn. This is not how I want to teach.
Yeah.
And because you go through all the professional development.
Mommy, who are you talking
about me. Where they tell you they have all the different types of behavior management and do this and this and I was like, this is not it. And just watching her and how just what she was learning on her own just at the lake.
Yeah.
Are you watching it about me?
Yes, Summer.
Ah.
And I mean, it was then I was like, no, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. And at that time, and then I was doing like weekly, I don't want to say packets, but I was sending out weekly activities for the parents to do at home with their kids. And a lot of it had to do, obviously, because we couldn't go places.
Yeah.
Right.
Had to do with more nature and getting outside. And as I was researching things to have them do just with stuff that's at home, I was like, wow, this is more like it.
Right.
And really felt good about how it was going then. And so things were happening. There was a change in leadership at the church that the preschool was at. And things were just, it wasn't going well. Summer. And I knew that was going to be my last year there. Like, I've put 10 years in here.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish off this year. I'm going to finish off summer with preschool. So I put my resignation in December and said I'd finish off the year. And with COVID and all the restrictions, we did a lot. And with me knowing that this is what I was going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
We did a lot outside. We did a lot more nature-based learning. And so those kids, they got the benefit of that.
Mommy,
at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm leaving at the end of the year, so they can't really fire me if they don't like what I'm doing because I'm leaving. So
yeah.
Well, we're not going to get into that.
I know.
Okay. And so that's kind of how I came to nature-based, and then I did.
There's a tree that thing is hugging.
Yeah, there is the actual hugging tree. That's over in George Wythe.
Oh, there's an actual.
Yeah,
my own children were asking.
Yes. So this tree, this is the silhouette of the
Oh my gosh.
trunk.
I can climb that.
Yep. And it's a big oak tree, and it has its arms out like this. It looks like it's giving you a hug.
Oh my gosh.
And so that is the actual hugging tree, and
That's how it all, the name and everything got started.
yeah. And so then I took while I was still teaching, finishing off my time, I did it's ARAFANS, it's Eastern Region Association of Forest and Nature Schools.
Okay.
ARAFANS, ERAFANS. They have a nature-based teaching certification.
Okay.
And so I was thankful that it was all online. Because usually before COVID, you'd have to go out to, I think it was Maryland or Pennsylvania or something, and it cost thousands. And,
Yeah.
But it was only, I don't remember how much it was, a couple hundred or something. But I mean, it was pretty intense. I had to be on the computer, and I mean, it was a live session.
Oh, they did.
I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and I got that certification just so I have it. And then the rest, it's just kind of, I follow other nature preschools on some listservs so that I get, there's some conversations that come through. And then the Iowa Association of Naturalists, I'm on their listserv.
Okay.
They have some great ideas. And so I just kind of pull from all of this to kind of figure out what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And kind of make it my own. So.
What are like the differences, like thinking back to when you were teaching preschool, I guess, like traditionally versus like now? Do you like see stark differences in between like your students, like how they do socially, but also just like, I guess in like a holistic way?
Yes. So, for example, there was the more traditional, I did the gold. I don't know if you're familiar with the gold assessment. That's, oh gosh.
I know, like, I don't teach early childhood classes, but
okay,
yeah.
but yeah, the gold assessments, it's this online assessment program that if you get state funding, you have to do it.
Okay,
And
so it's like preschoolers like have to take this?
No,
or
I have to
you
enter in
take
everything. And it's, oh gosh, it takes forever to, and when you have, like I had 12 kids in the class. Anyway, it takes forever, nobody looks at it. It's, so like one of them was letter knowledge. Like, do they know the letters? Can they produce the sounds and all that? And so I would have to go and my little thing, and I'd have to pull the kids separately and do these assessments with the flashcards and be like, okay, and some kids it was so easy, but most of them it was just painful for them and for me.
They're young.
And it was ridiculous. I mean, it's like, this is not appropriate. This is not developmentally appropriate for 3 and 4-year-olds, not even 5-year-olds. And so here, I pick a letter each week to just like point out. It's not like, oh, this is the letter, and we do a worksheet on it, and we do a song about it. I mean, no. It's like, this week it's Y. We're very excited. Next week is Z.
Reaching the end of the alphabet.
Yeah, so I'll, during our message, I'll write the word, or write letter Y, and it's like, this is letter Y, and they'll, oh, I see letter Y, or so-and-so has letter Y in their name, and so then we'll be out and about, and it's easy this week because there's so many Y sticks, like sticks that are in the shape of a Y. I'm just looking usually.
That makes sense.
There's this one. They'll come up and they'll say, look, there's a Y right here. And so it's just like authentic learning that
It used to be a Y.
they're just immersed in it. And so then I have a clipboard, and as I'm observing, because I do a lot of observing, and I have the alphabet, and I'll just check off. Oh, well, this kid identified this letter, and we were working on a puzzle last week, quite a few of them, and I just couldn't believe, I was just so happy with how many letters that the 3-year-olds that had turned 4
Yep.
knew. And they were just saying the sounds, and there wasn't like a formal, here's this, and like formal lessons like I did in the traditional.
Except for
Yeah.
King
Sense.
Stan, he don't go along
Summer.
with us. He
Summer.
didn't
And so it seems like the kids here, when I'm doing the more nature-based, the more emergent curriculum, all the, just the whole holistic ones, like you said, it's more meaningful to them, and they seem to gather more knowledge, and they'll share it with their parents. Like their parents will text me and be like, well, so-and-so just told me this, so I didn't even know that. Another thing is that I really feel like the relationships, the connections I have with the kids here, so much more meaningful than those that I had in the classroom.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, in the classroom, it's kind of a sterile environment. You know, it's a classroom. They're at school, and you know, there was not a lot of just coming and talking to me. And here, there's always somebody talking to me. Sometimes I'm like, okay, give me a moment to give my ears a rest. And the conversations that we have are incredible. And so I just feel like here in this type of setting, in this more the traditional way of teaching, that it's more meaningful to the kids. They're owning their information more because they're interested in it.
Right.
You know, in school, sure, there's certain things you have to know, have to learn, but there's ways to do it that make it more meaningful and what's the word I'm looking for? Just make the kids really own it.
Right.
So,
Right. And I'm sure that affects you too. Like just I'm thinking from the teaching standpoint, and right now in my classes we are talking a lot about teacher burnout, and just I don't know. Do you feel a lot less burnout, I guess, symptoms this way versus the other way, or not
yes
necessarily?
and no. There's new stressors this way.
Okay.
There's new stressors that I didn't have in the traditional way, and then there's, of course, traditional stressors that I don't have this way.
Yep.
You know, like the weather is, it's more like it affects more of what we do. So
Yeah.
Right.
if it's going to rain all day, then I have to make sure that I have the indoor environment set and, you know, things for them to do, and think of what adventure can we do, because, you know, we don't want to be in the house all day.
Right.
So that's
No, I
a
think
new
we to the post office.
stressor
Yeah.
that I have.
But seriously,
Yeah,
Yeah. So what do you do if it's horrible weather, like it's too cold to go outside or go in the house? Is it still emergent where they're kind of leaving?
yeah. So the dining room is, it's the formal dining room, but we don't use it. Dining room. That's the preschool room, and yeah, I've just got different shelves.
I gotta go get that dude that has crazy hair.
I've got stuff out. I swap it. The materials out. And I try to have some sort of art activity that they do, but usually
There's a woodpecker.
we don't go in the house that often, and so when we do, it's kind of
It's
a,
novel.
yeah, so they stay pretty busy. There's a woodpecker? There is. There it is.
It's pretty.
What about student social and emotional learning or behavior? Like you said, we've got all these behavior plans and intervention plans and so the meltdown plan and the conversation. What are you seeing here?
So, there was a little guy that started with us, and I knew from the beginning, like just meeting him one time,
Could
that
tell.
he had some needs. But I said, okay, well, let's try this.
Yeah.
Let's see. And we tried it, and gosh, he really needed to be in a traditional.
Okay.
Mommy, was it heavy?
Yeah. And he had some needs, like he was very, like, I think he thrived on structure. His family was very unstructured, and so it was transitions were difficult for him. It was just, this was not the environment for him.
Yeah.
And oh gosh, it was bad. He struggled, and I was like, gosh, Mom and I talked a lot, and I don't want to give up on the little guy, but this is just not the place. I mean, he was getting to be a liability, like, he would run off, and it just wasn't safe. And so luckily after Christmas, I don't know, he decided that he didn't like it here, and so he would cry when Mom dropped him off, and Mom just decided we're just going to be done. Whew.
Yeah.
But so there are instances where
It's just not the right fit.
it's not the right fit.
Yeah.
And then last summer I opened up the summer programs to the siblings, older siblings too, because I had some families with older siblings, and there was he just finished first grade.
Solomon?
Yeah, no, summer. And I think he's on the spectrum. I don't think that Mom and Dad were ready to admit it yet, but I mean, it was classic symptoms to me.
Yeah.
Like being obsessed with World War II and military, and drawing like military ships and tanks, details. He would just spend, it was just, and he would get very nervous and anxious, and this was not the right setting for him either.
Yeah.
So for those, it's not the right setting, but for the kids I have now, I would say that they do pretty well with regulating themselves. When they're, of course there's disagreements and issues that come up, but because we're so connected and we talk about things so much, and they feel completely comfortable coming and talking to me, we have good discussions about what happens when we get upset, and what we can do. And I'm very proud of the kids, because they're figuring out how to regulate themselves. So
That's a life thing.
That is, seriously.
Ah!
Well, what else do we want to ask? I know we've been here more time than we intended, but it's just so amazing that it's like the tour and all the parts,
It's a beautiful night.
Yeah, what would you want to tell other, like, I teach teachers at UNI? Like, what insights or things that you've learned would you want to be shared with other educators? Because this is different than what a lot of people have experienced, right?
I would say,
A pine.
summer. Gosh. I would say, don't be afraid to be outside. Don't be afraid to take your kids outside, and let them just experience it. Don't set them up with like, okay, we're gonna go outside now, and I want you to stay on the sidewalk and keep your hands to yourself, and we need to stick together. Well, that was kind of an important part, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Don't set them up with all these different, this is what you have to do, so they're afraid to do anything. Just let them explore, let them just experience. And go back to the connections and the relationships. That is so huge. Once you get to know your kids, then pull on their interests and think about how, like I'm just, for example, in the public schools where there's your curriculum, you have to do it, and think about how you can do that with the interests of your kids. I mean, it might not be, and I would say don't be afraid to just, have a small group of kids doing some concept in a way that interests them, and then have another group that's doing the same concept in a way that might interest them. It might take a little more planning and a little more, shuffling around, but just connect with those kids. Breathe and relax.
What else, Hallie? Any other, as we wrap up, anything else?
Yeah, that's some good advice. I'm just like thinking, because I don't know. I'm planning on just going into public or private school, one way or the other. But nature-based learning is something I want to integrate so much. So it's just so cool. So this is just, I love picking your brain about this. This is really entertaining.
And then I've never had to deal with public school administrators. I guess I was a sub for a while, right out of college. And, I was a reading interventionist for 1 year.
Okay.
So I have had some of that experience. But, if I was teaching first grade, I would say, don't be afraid to go to your administrator and be like, hey, I want to get these kids outside more. And I know that lots of schools are kind of starting to do that, but kind of, if you have an idea, go for it. Don't be afraid. Just do it. The worst they can say is no, and then you just think about it again and try another way.
Try a way.
Yeah.
Have you seen, given your certification and other things, programs that are more geared towards middle level students or even high school, and just trying to connect with you and other educators? We do get to talk to some people who run a forest school in Iceland. We're just Gary Goody. Yeah, so we're
yes.
We're also talking to, is it Indian Creek Nature Center?
Indian Creek Nature Center in Cedar Rapids.
Yes.
But it seems like a lot of early childhood, right? And Hallie's middle level focused, although you're K-8, right?
Yeah, I'm K-8, but the middle level.
It's what about these older kids? Let's get them outside too, right?
Yes. So there is School of the Wild. It's through the University of Iowa.
Oh, okay.
And they take I can't remember what grade it is, but it is middle level kids. They'll take, maybe it's a week, and they'll go out and it'll be their nature thing. I went to a conference, it was a workshop is what they called it. The Iowa Association of Naturalists. Nope, that wasn't it. It was EECC, Environmental Education, something or another. Iowa something.
Okay.
But I went to a breakout session. It was about the School of the Wild, and it was just explaining what they did and stuff. Gosh, I wish that we lived down closer to Iowa City, but they do take out entire grades of kids, and they take them to Sugar Bottom, Lake McBride area, and other areas too. And then they have them doing different activities, maybe a pond study, or and so that was really cool, I thought. So that would kind of be middle age.
Yeah.
There is kind of maybe a homeschooling thing. It's called the Good Earth School. Is it by Solon, maybe?
Oh, I've heard of that.
They're a mixed age group. I follow them on Facebook, and I've messaged with one of the teachers there a couple times. That might be, I don't know a lot about it, but that would be an interesting
Well, and you might know more, but one of my friends is tied in close with Hartman, and they're hiring another naturalist, and are going to pull they're working with Cedar Falls School District, and I don't know if it's 3rd grade or 6th grade. Did I tell you this? It's like the kids are going for a week.
Yeah,
at a
it's 6th
time.
grade, I
It's
think.
6th, which
So
is good.
that's kind of like the School of the Wild. So yeah, they had 2 naturalists, and one took a different position in a different part of the state. So they're replacing.
That must be for...
It's interesting you mentioned Hartman, because I had contacted them right away, and I've contacted them since, several times, and they're not really interested in what I'm doing and like collaborating. So
That's too bad.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
That seems surprising too. I just feel like they would
Yeah.
over that.
Maybe with this new hire and the district connection, it'll open a bit.
I was thinking of what I wanted to make sure to mention. So there's forest schools and there's nature-based schools.
Yeah, what do you...
So forest schools are they're outside the entire time. They're outside the entire duration of their meeting time. Nature-based schools, they do have indoor time. And I chose a nature preschool just because knowing the winters in Iowa,
Yeah.
Right.
I knew I couldn't be outside all the time.
Yeah.
And so there's those 2 differences, and there seems like there's so many different variations on how a person, the people run their nature-based schools. Some are more traditional preschools, but then they pull the nature aspect, like they go outside and do nature activities, but then they still say they're nature-based. Some are, so you have like a whole spectrum, like, you've got the more structured kind of nature-based forest school type thing, where they have the activities, the kids do whatever. And then it kind of goes down, and then you kind of get a mix of teacher-led and kid-led, kind of in the middle. And then I feel like I'm more on the end of, I'm taking all the clues from the kids. There's more of the community aspect of it. There's my word again. As opposed to, I'm not the teacher, I feel like I'm just the facilitator, or I'm just here, the scaffolder. And I really don't think that there's a right or wrong way to do nature-based education. I'm from Fargo, North Dakota. And there's this gal up there who says that she's a nature school, and I follow her on Facebook, and I'm like, well, okay, I can see, but she's got all the, you get like the Kaplan, the Lakeshore magazines, and all that, and, all her materials are all that, that kind of stuff, very more sterile-like, and but she calls herself a nature school. So you have those people, and then you have people like me that's like, oh, let's do stuff with sticks and rocks and whatever. And so, I mean, that's the great part, is that there's no like set way.
Right.
However feels comfortable to you. And then parents can decide if that's how they want their children to learn or not. So that was one thing I wanted to
No, that's very
point out,
helpful.
because that was something that I have been learning. What are you doing? that not all nature preschools are run the same way.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting. And I enjoy seeing how the different schools
Oh, my tip.
Sure.
do things. Like Indian Creek, I think, is more, structured. At least that's what I'm kind of gathering.
Yeah, we'll find out
I
tomorrow.
was gonna say
Oh,
we'll know
yeah.
on
tomorrow.
Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't go down there, but yeah.
Yeah,
See
I
what they
reached
tell
out
us.
to them too, and they kind of thought, hey, it'd be cool if we could partner or something, and they kind of weren't interested. So
Aw,
I'm like, okay, well, I'm here.
you got a cool thing going.
Yeah, you
so,
do.
So
An
I
awesome
just
thing
do
going.
my own thing.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing.
No,
So we'll just see where it goes, I guess.
it's going.
It is.
Interesting.
Well, thank you.